right? If we look here, right, we need to have a radius of 50. Okay, but it's asking for diameter, right? So if we want to have a radius of 50, right, diameter is 2 times radius, right? You guys should know that, right? So that gives us a diameter of 100. So we can slap in 100 here, okay? For the X and Y, because it's the center of the circle, and we want to just touch the top, just be in the top left corner of the screen, right? We need to have it so that the center is the radius length away from the left side and from the top side. So simple enough. You just need to put in 50 for your X and Y. It should give you a circle in the top right. Okay. So there's one other thing that you guys can do in your setup function, and that is define the color of your background. Okay. And you do that with this background function. Okay. So all you need to do is just type background and then fill out the green, red, green, and blue values. Okay. And the values for these can be anything from 0 to 255 for each one of these. Okay. Now, if you guys are looking for a specific color and you don't know colors like I do, there is an easy way to find out values for specific colors, and I'll show you guys that here, right? And that's by finding a color wheel picker like this. Anywhere, just search up color wheel picker. If you move these values around, so let's say I wanted like this green color, for example, right? In my background, I can just copy this, right? This gives me the red, the green, and the blue values, right? You can copy and paste that, put it in your code, and it'll give you that same color. I'll show you guys an example a little bit later. But yeah. So you can also change the color of your shape doing something similar, okay? So if you have say a rectangle here, right? There's two functions you can call. There's stroke and then there's fill, okay? So to fill the color of a shape, right? The inside color, you use fill, right? And stroke does the border colors. Okay. So also if you don't specify anything, then it won't change color. So you can have fill and stroke not there, like you guys saw in that one example where I had just the rectangle, right? You can do that as well. It won't change color, but if you would like to change the color, this is how you would do it. Okay. So for this rectangle here that we have here, right? We're defining the outside color to be just purely red. Okay, that's the most red that we could ever have. Okay, and by putting that value of 255 in there, that gives us, again, just in the red slot, right? And then we're filling it with by just purely green, and it calls the rectangle. You need to define it in this, or sorry, and the fill and stroke have to come before your rectangle call, or else it's not going to fill the right rectangle that you want. And again, we're going to do a little exercise so you guys can see how that actually works. Okay. So just some tips to remember. So background just prints the entire window. So that window that you guys defined with size, it prints, it just colors that. Okay. It doesn't color anything else. Okay. We need to use fill. And it applies color to everything we draw afterwards, unless we specify other words. So if you were to have, for example, fill, and then you just put so let's say you put it max red, for example, and then you had 3 rectangles, it's going to color all 3 of those rectangles red. Okay. So you need to call fill one more time in between if you want each of those rectangles to be a different color afterwards. Okay. So this is the first exercise that we're going to do as a class. So you guys are going to go into your breakout rooms with your mentors, and you guys are going to work on this for the next 10-15 minutes. But your goal is to draw the Calgary Tower. Okay. So using the stuff that we talked about earlier, right? I want you guys to try and build something like this. Okay. The colors I don't really care about, right? Do whatever colors you like, play around with it, guys. Okay. But I want you guys to try and draw something like this. Okay. So we're going to go into our breakout rooms. After the 10-15 minutes are up, I'm going to go over a solution to one of the ways you possibly could have done this. Okay. But for now, let's get into those breakout rooms, and I'll see you guys in about 10-15 minutes. Okay.
And just before I open the breakout rooms, I just want to let everyone know who's in group number 10 under Nizarg's group. They're out sick today, so I have temporarily assigned you to different groups. So if you do get a different group than what you're normally used to, it's just a temporary measure. So yeah, about that top hat thing, apparently you have to put University of Calgary at the top there.
Okay, sorry, I don't know why it's universe.
Yeah, it's been buggy for me too, so don't worry about that. But
Oh yeah, there you go. That worked. Okay. Oh, that felt rough, Tony.
yeah, like in the past we would just have like Zoom polls, and that was kind of easier because like it was just like within Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
More tools is nice, but it just adds more complications as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I have to build the solution for this because I didn't get access to the slides.
Sorry, which one are you trying to access?
Sorry, what?
Which file are you trying to access right now?
The one for the solutions. That was the one.
All right, let me see if I can do a thing on my end.
If not, it's not a massive deal. Like I should be able to just do this really quickly.
Hey, Aaron, I'll just assign you to your group quickly here.
Oh, sorry, I'm late. Hello?
Hi. Yeah, no worries. So I'll assign you to your group, and your mentor can help you with the problem that we're working on.
There you go. That looks better.
I sent you the solutions by the chat.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll also work on getting you access to like all of the slides and everything on all of the solutions, so that you should have access to it before the sessions.
Okay, thank you. I forgot too that I could just go to the website. What time do we upload the slides at? Do you know? Or
I'm
like
not
when this?
sure. Normally it should be like within 24 hours, I believe, but
Okay, that's fine. I just yeah, I felt bad asking every time, but so that's why I was yeah. But thank you.
yeah, no worries. So I'll just try to make a note of it so that we'll be more organized for the future.
Yeah. What time did they go in at? I felt like it was like 125-ish, right?
Yeah, it's 12:25, so I was thinking
Or
12:40 will
12:25.
close.
Okay, sounds good. There are like 70 kids in here. Do you see that?
Yeah, the rooms are massive. It's like at a minimum of 5 people, at a maximum 10 or 11. So 10 mentees.
Jeez. If you guys like, if we want to, I can take some of the mentees too. I guess I could have done that today. Shoot.
Oh
In
yeah,
a
that could
breakout.
work. So I think in the future, if we're like down,
Yeah, I
mentor,
can just I'll just take one.
all right, sounds good. Maybe for the next breakout room, if we have one, I'll assign you to room 10.
Okay.
All right, that's good. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries. Just to make it a little bit easy on the other mentors. You got any midterms this week, Tony?
Yeah, my first one.
Oh yeah.
How about you?
I have 4 this week.
Oh damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, I'm screwed.
Are you in your third year?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But like I have 5 midterms total this year.
Oh okay.
And they put 4 of them in the same week, so that's great.
Yeah, you're planning on going on internship, right?
Trying to. It's a little tough trying to find one right now, but
Yeah, but
know.
once you get to the intern life, everything gets better.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Makes life a lot better. Do you do an internship?
I did, yeah.
Oh, nice.
It was nice because you have like a work-life balance.
Yeah,
Um, so it's just you finish your work at like 3 or 4 o'clock or whatever, and then you go home. Don't have to worry about until the next business day.
yeah, exactly.
Could you send me your email?
Yeah, here, just in chat.
All right, thanks. Then I'll just share you the Google Drive folder for the beginner, which should have the slides
Slides.
and the solutions.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem.
Oh, perfect. You are a legend.
Yeah, your life should be easier from here on out.
Thank you. I don't know why, but I felt like that first 30 minutes of that session felt really rough. I felt like I was all over the place, but
Yeah, I suppose it's like a multi-person effort, like you with like handling the questions and like the mentees. Janine was like she had the top hat know-how, and like for me, I was just mostly assigning people to their groups.
yeah.
Have you done this before?
Yeah, I taught this class last semester, but I
Oh,
did
how
it.
was it?
It wasn't bad, but I taught the hybrid version,
Right.
and it was hard because well, hybrid's not easy to teach. Like the kids on like I don't know. I think we had like 20, 30 something kids total, and I think we are at about half that for the session 8 by the end. but that's a combination of in person and Zoom. So it was a bit tricky because we couldn't get Top Hat to work. So like we had one person who kept track of like all the questions in person, and then another person kept track of all the answers on Zoom and stuff. So it was rough. It wasn't terrible, but yeah.
Yeah, I heard attendance was kind of lacking for like the in-person thing.
Like I can understand it though, because like trying to get to the university, like if you don't live close to the university, like I can understand a parent being like, I don't know if I really want to drive my kid all the way there, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I feel like I don't know why I was so surprised when we had so many kids join because like for this session, because like it's just Zoom, right? You can do it from anywhere. So
Yeah, we have some from like BC and like Saskatchewan as well.
really,
Most of them
crazy.
are Alberta, but it's also Canada wide.
Wow, I didn't know that. What else do we have to go over after? Multiple times. Oh, we're going into variables after this. Okay, yeah. This is way too bad. Did you hear it's supposed to be snowing here soon?
Yeah, we had a good run.
Yeah, yeah. I thought we were gonna make it to Halloween without snow, to be honest, but I guess not.
Sorry, person with the username iPhone. What's your first name? Okay, thanks. We're gonna close breakout rooms pretty soon here, but I'll assign you to your mentor group for the next one.
Oh, right.
No problem.
It's all good, bud. Good thing, like, do you know that the where to find the slides online? No? Okay. I'll get the link here and I'll just send it to you. Or I can just show you. Just if you go to if you type Schulich Ignite in your browser and click the first link, if you go up to sessions here and then Ignite Beginner, all the slides are down here for us. Okay, so I'll send this link. I'll just put it in the chat for you. But if you go there, you can, if you miss a session or if you show up late and you have time to look at the slides, like you'll see everything there. And we also, if you go onto YouTube and search up Schulich Ignite, you can also find our YouTube. So you can, because we record all these sessions as well. So yeah.
All right, closing all the rooms.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. As everyone is still coming back, if mentees, if you guys just want me to just put in chat how you guys found the exercise. Did you guys get it? Were you guys close? Did you guys have trouble? How did you guys?
It didn't work for me well. Like it didn't. Like no rectangles were popping up for me and all that stuff.
Okay, well, we'll go over a solution here and just kind of check your code as you go. There's a couple, I got a couple notes for you guys as well. I got the shape, but coloring was a bit difficult. Okay. Determine X and Y. Got the exercise. Good. Okay, so a bit mixed across the board, but that's all right. Okay, so let's get started here. Now, one thing I want to mention, right, and I probably should have mentioned this a little bit earlier for you guys, is that so the way Python works when you're writing code is it reads top down. So it reads line by line. So like it'll read line 1, then line 2, line 3, 4, 5, 6, and as you go. Okay. If for whatever reason, if you don't type things like, say, if you were to spell rect wrong here, you're going to get errors. Okay. And then things won't work. And sometimes Python won't always tell you what the errors are. Okay. You're getting what's called runtime errors. Okay. But let's go over the solution here. So if I run this, just so you guys can see that I created the Calgary Tower. Now let's go over the code real quick before I start. Can everyone see the code okay, or do I need to zoom in? Is it too hard to see on your screens? I can zoom in if need be.
It's fine.
It's fine. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we're only using def setup for this. Oh, could I zoom in? Yeah, I can zoom in. How's that? Is that better, guys? That should be okay. So we have our setup function here, right? And then you guys can also see that if you guys didn't have this space, you guys might have been running into errors, but you need to have that single tab space, right? Like we talked about. And the first thing we're doing is we're defining our window that we're drawing in. Okay. So that means, so we have that, and then we're also defining our color. Now you guys may have had a different color. That's fine. This is the color that we decided looked best. You guys could have gone with a full green, whatever, doesn't make sense. Now, we have our first rectangle here. Now, real quick, before we look at this, before I dive into more, can anyone tell me what rectangle this might be? Which of these 4 rectangles here? It could be the bottom one, it could be the middle one, the red one, or the top. Okay, yeah, so I would agree it's the base. Okay, now we can double check, right? If I maybe change, let's say I change this to 200, right? We're going to see which one moves. Okay, right. So if you said the base, you're right. Now, the one thing you guys have to be careful with when you're doing stuff like this is it's a coordinate system, right? So the coordinate for each rectangle is the top left corner. So we can see here for this, we're just filling it with just one, a grayscale color. So a very dark gray is what we've chosen. And then we're choosing the outside to be just another version of gray. But the coordinates is what I want you guys to look at. Now, if we look at the width and the height, we can see this rectangle is 100 wide, 100 units wide, and 50 units tall. Okay. Now, since we know our window is 300 by 400, right? If we want this to be in the exact center of our screen, we essentially have to we have to do a little bit of math to figure out where it goes. Okay, so if it's 100 wide, right, then the center of that rectangle is going to be the left corner plus 50 in terms of the x-axis, right? Like half of 100, which is 50, right? So if we want that point to be in the center, we need to take, say, our center coordinate, if you will, and minus 50. You guys have to do a little bit of math when you guys are doing these things. So if you guys look, the x coordinate is 100, and then we add a 100, right? Or add 50 to it. That means, sorry, let me restart. Our size is 300 wide. Our window is 300 units wide. Okay. If we want the rectangle to be in the center, we're going to take the x coordinate and then add half our width, right? So if we do 50 plus 100, we get 150. on the x axis, that gives us half. You guys see how that's being centered? Does that make sense? Right? Rectangles are a bit weird because the coordinate system is in the top left corner, whereas for all the other shapes, like what's it called, like circles and ellipses, the coordinates in the center. Okay, but that being said, you guys can see that, you know, this rectangle here, like we kept the same size for these two. Okay, and then just position them accordingly. Okay, if you look here for the colors, right, you can see for this rectangle here, we have it maxed out in the red section, so that would be our red rectangle there. Okay, and then you can also see for the white rectangle at the top here, right, we have no stroke, so no color is defined, so we're just going to get plain white. Okay, does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions about that exercise? No? Okay. So let's move on then. Okay, so now we're going to talk about variables. This is like the bread and butter of Python. Okay. So variables have two parts. They have the name and then they have the value. Okay. So when it comes to Python, right, unlike other languages, Python's very flexible in how you define variables, right? So you always have your name, an equal sign, and a value, right? But this value can be anything. We're going to go into different value types. Okay. But when you're defining variables, you always have the name on the left, an equal sign, and then the value on the right. Okay. You can't reverse it, right? It has to go left to right, name equals value. Okay. So there's multiple variable types in Python. Okay. So we have the integer type, which is just a whole number. All right. So you can have positive, negative numbers, right? You can go -2, 0, 101. It's very that's basically it. Integers are very easy to understand, right? Now we have floats. Okay, so floats are any number with a decimal value attached to it. All right, again, can be positive and negative like integers. Okay, and you just define it like so. So if your salary is 3000.29, that would be a float type. One thing I want you guys to pay attention to is look at this value here. Okay, you guys see this -10? 10 this is technically a whole number, but because it has the 0.0 at the end of it, its type becomes a float type. Okay. And yeah, so you could do 0.0, that'd still be a float. That's the difference between a float and an integer type in Python. Okay. Now we have strings. Okay, so strings are defined a little bit differently. So if you guys saw before, right, we didn't have any quotes or nothing. We just typed in a number for our float and integer types. But if we go into strings, we need to include either double quotes or single quotes. Now, it doesn't matter which ones you use. You guys can use single or double quotes, right? But all it has to be is consistent, right? So if you use single quote or double quotes at the start, you have to use double quotes at the end. Okay, you can't use like double and single. Python will get confused. Okay. So like there's some examples down here, right? You can also do, right? If you were to, oh, let me pull up this here, right? If you were to do something like this, if you were to say x is equal to that, right? Can anyone tell me what type x is? Is x a string, integer, or float? Correct, right? Yeah, so most of you guys got it. It's a string, right? So it's good to see you guys got that. That's perfect. So let's move on. So we can also use variables as placeholder values within our code. Okay. And this is just a short example here, right? So if we have the setup function here, if we define height to be 10, right, and we print height, okay, then this is going to just print 10 in our console. Okay, so here I can show you guys a quick example of that, right? So we'll use x again. We could go print x. If we go down here, we see 1, right? Notice too, if I change this to just 1 to an integer type, same thing gets printed. Okay. Yep, you can use numbers for variables. Okay. We'll dive into a bit more, guys. Okay. So if we have say this value today, okay, what type of value are we assigning? So this is our quick question too. So we're gonna go to top hat. The for this question, guys, if you look in the top right, you should see the question being answered or the example being shown. I'll try and get the top hat link here. And to answer your question, yep, that's perfectly all right. If you know where the slides are, you can just catch up on anything that you missed.
Sophie, if you signed up with your email, then you're gonna have to log in through your email every time. You won't be able to use your password and username.
Looks like most people answered. Perfect. All right. So again, most of you guys got it right again, right? It would be a string value, right? Anytime you see those quotes, that that assigns a string value to that variable, right? So you guys can see here, right? If we didn't have those double quotes, this is another question. If we didn't have those double quotes, guys, what kind of value would this be? Or what type of variable would this be? Would this be an integer, float, or string? Right, it'd be a float. Perfect. Okay. Let me get my screen here. So let's move on. Okay, so we're gonna move into our second exercise. Okay, so what I want you guys to do, if you guys have the slides, let me show you something. You're gonna need to copy this code. The code is in the bottom here if you have access to the slides. If you don't, I'm gonna give you guys about 5-ish minutes to just copy this code down. Okay. The purpose of this exercise is I want you guys to try and move these snowmen 50 units down and 50 units to the right and 50 units down. Okay. But what I want you guys also to focus on is what's the easiest way that you guys can do that. Okay. So look at the code and look at what values are where. Okay. And there's two lines. The most efficient way to do it, I'll give you guys a hint, is that there's two lines that you guys have to change, right? To move both these snowmen over to the right 50 units and down 50 units. Okay. So while you guys are copying that, we're also going to go into breakout rooms for this. This one shouldn't be too bad, but we'll still give you guys 10-15 minutes. We're making decent time here, so yes. Question. Oh, thank you very much for putting the code in there. That is huge. So guys, the code's also in chat, so you guys can copy and paste that. Give you guys maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll go into breakout rooms. Okay. Okay, I think we should be good. So Tony, if you would kindly make the breakout rooms, that would be
Sounds good.
thank you.
And this time around, for people who are
Wait,
with
wait, I'm not
Nisarg, people who are with Nisarg, Cohen will be your mentor for this breakout room. Hey, Chris and Darnjit, I'll assign you to your rooms.
Alrighty, guys, just as you're coming in again, if you guys would like to just mention in chat how you guys found that exercise. Did you guys get it? Did you struggle with it? Did you have any questions?
I tried.
Yeah.
I wrote like size, but it's saying that there was like I put a wrong syntax or like syntax error.
Yeah, so you have to
I
be
don't
just
know.
careful how you write it. So you could have been missing a colon, maybe a comma, something like that. You may have incorrect indentation, right? So those are syntax errors. You have to be careful. But you should have been able to just copy and paste the code that we put in chat. Did you do that or no?
I'm using a separate computer because I'm using my school computer for the call and
Oh, okay.
my personal computer for the work and all that stuff.
Okay. If you go to the slides, the code will be there as well. Do you know how to get the slides from the website?
No.
No? Okay, so I'll show you guys that at the end here. But let's go over the exercise. So most people said it was pretty easy, so that's good to see. But we're just gonna go over the code quickly. So again, we have our from processing imports.
Colin, just before you explain just quick heads up, the size in the background, those lines codes are not available in the slides. So some people had trouble in making the background because that code is not in the slides. So I guess if you want for next one, just change it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah, I noticed that too. Okay, yeah, so
Yeah, so some people had trouble like making the background and they were getting errors.
right,
well.
okay. So yeah, so I think we only gave you guys like this point, but we'll just go over the code. So again, we have our from processing import star. You always need that. And then we have our setup function. Okay, we are defining our window to be 500 by 500. Okay, and then we are coloring our background with this specific color, right, which is the gray you see behind here. And then we have our first snowman. Okay, so our first snowman is made up of 3 ellipses, right? You can see that you have your first ellipse here, second ellipse, and third ellipse. All right. If we look at the X and Y real quickly, guys, so the width and height of all these ellipses, right? You can see that the smaller one is first, right? But what do you notice about the smaller one compared to the bigger circles? Like which ones appear to be on top of each other? Like which one's at the farthest back does it look like, or which one is at the farthest front, right? Do you guys understand what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Okay, so in the chat, which ellipse seems to be the bigger one is at the front? Exactly. Okay, so Ahmed had it right. So if you guys look, whichever shapes you define first are going to show up first on your screen, but any ones that come up after are going to appear as if they're on top of the other one, right? So it's just one thing to note when you guys are writing your code, right? Like I said, Python reads line by line. So it's going to read this one first, print it out, and then it's going to put this one on top of it, and then this one on top of it. Okay. And you guys can see that the increase in size, right? You guys can also see that the X coordinates are all the same for these ones, right? And it's just the Y coordinates that change, right? Because again, you want them to be all centered, right? But then they get bigger, so they need to go farther down, okay? So that's all fine and dandy. Now, we have 2 variables here, X and Y. What types are these variables? Anyone know? Can you guys put it in chat? Integers, correct. You guys can also just say ints, right? But that's correct. Okay, they're integer types. Okay, now if we look at the second snowman here, right? What do you know about the X and Y coordinates, right? We're using X and Y from here. Okay. And even here for the Y coordinates for the second 2, we're actually doing a little bit of arithmetic, right? We're adding values to those variables that we have. Okay. So if you guys wanted to move both these snowmen, let's say we move them both right 50 and down 50, right? To do that, we would need to increase both of the X and Y coordinates of every ellipse by 50. Okay, so I'll do that here, right? That'd be 205. That'd be 270. Okay, so that's the first snowman. For the second snowman, what do I need to change to do the same thing? Can anyone tell me in chat? Correct. So some of you guys said add 50 to X and Y. That is exactly what we're going to do. Okay. So let's do that. And if we run this, right? So look at the snowman where they are now. Oh, what did I do? Oh, that should be 155. All right, let me go back. I don't remember which value that was. Okay, yeah. Sorry, that should be 205. 205. Let's go. 150. Right. And now you guys can see that they've all moved down. Okay. Now I want to ask you guys, which was easier to do? Was it easier to do it like the first snowman where you go in and change every single X and Y value, or was it easier to use just change X and Y and the second, right? So you guys see the usefulness of variables, right? So if you have code that you often repeat, right, you can often switch out those values for a base value like we did here, right? Because X and Y are 250 or 350 and 250, right? And then inside here, the Y stay the same, so that's fine, right? But the Y's, or sorry, the X stays the same, but the Y's change. So we just add a little bit, add extra values to them, right? It provides a base for us, right? So that's one useful aspect of variables, and it makes your code a lot more efficient, right? It makes also any changes you have to make a lot easier. Okay, so let's continue on. Oh, which one is my slides? Go. Okay. So now we're going to talk about operators. So we saw a little bit about those in the previous exercise that we just did. Okay. But there we go. So these are some of the basic operators that we have. We saw the addition one in the exercise we just did. But if you want to do subtraction, multiplication, division, and then I'll talk about modulus here in a sec. But these are just anything you need to. You can do the same with floats as well. Modulus is just remainder. So if you were to do 5 modulus 2, right, what would you get if you did, what's the remainder value that you have left over when you do 5 divided by 2? Does anyone know? 1 exactly, right? So that can be really handy if you're, say, trying to find all the even numbers in a list, for example, right? So that's the a nice thing about modulus. Always returns the remainder. Okay. So this is our quick question 3. Let me get that here on top hat. Right. So for this question, oops, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Okay, so for this question here, this is our last question of the day. So how can we define the parameters of X and Y so that a circle defined with the ellipse X, Y, and then the diameter will stay in the top left corner of the screen for any diameter of D? Okay. So if we have, you guys are going to need to look at variables, right? But think about that question. I think the top hat should be open for this question. If it's not, we can get it open here soon. Oh, so you guys have a minute, right? So what values of X and Y can we throw into that those ellipses so that we get the desired output? About 30 seconds left for those of you who haven't answered. Okay, and time. Okay, so let's see the responses, right? And most of you pick B, which is the correct answer, right? Because you guys got to remember too, if you guys, the X and Y coordinate is in the very center of that ellipse, right? So if you want to have your what's it called, your circles touching the top left and right corner, you need to add half the diameter, right? Or in other words, the radius of that said circle or ellipse to the X or set the X and Y's to half the diameter, right? Because then that gives you the radius, which is the exact center of the circle or ellipse. Okay. So let's move on. Okay, so we have also with that processing library, we also have two special variables called mouse X and mouse Y. Okay. And what this does is whenever you have your cursor over the screen, it's going to what's it called? It's going to keep track of where your cursor is on that screen in terms of its coordinates. Okay. So we don't assign values to these. You'll get errors if you do. The computer does it automatically. It's part of the library, right? So you guys don't have to do anything, right? So with that being said, you can use mouse X and mouse Y to create a rectangle that follows your mouse, okay? And stuff like that, okay? So just here you have a basic example, right? If you're going to use mouse X and mouse Y, you need to define it. Stopped. You need to use it in the def draw function, okay? Because the difference between setup and draw, setup runs once, draw runs infinitely amount of times until you stop the program, okay? So if you were to put this in setup, it would check once and then it wouldn't change. It wouldn't follow your mouse. You need to define it in draw, okay? All right, so this is a quick reminder of how you guys need to share your code, okay? Because we're going to get into the end of session assignments here soon. On Trinket, right? If you go to that share button and you grab the link, that's the link you need to submit on the Schulich website to submit your exercises. We have two assignments, for each of the groups, the Pythonic Lava and Bug Busters. Okay, so for Bug Busters, these are your two assignments, okay? The first one is you create a square and the color changes based on where the mouse is, okay? So again, which colors you use, it doesn't matter, okay? We just want to see you guys get the concepts down. And then the second one is to create a shape, right, that follows your mouse as well. And I want to see not just a square, but also a couple of squares, something or other similar to what is seen here in the diagram. And again, guys, these examples, like that shows you what you need to do, are in the slides, which is on the website. Okay. For Pythonic Lava, you have two others. Okay. So you have one that creates a trail of circles that follows your mouse anywhere, and it also changes color as your mouse moves. Okay. You guys can see as it gets into the bottom left, it gets more green. As it gets into the top left, it gets more purple. Top right, more red. Bottom right, more yellow. And then you also have a rectangle here that changes based on where your mouse is. Again, very similarly, but it stays in the top left corner and just follows your mouse. Okay. So, I believe that's it. Do you need to submit both exercises to get the points? Yes, you do. Okay. And if you guys finish those, here are some other exercises just for fun. Okay. If you guys can figure these one out, that's great too, if you have the time. Okay. Is there anything else? So this is submitting the exercise, so we'll go over this too. So you can click these links on the slide as well. Or you can go to our website too. Let me show you guys just how to submit real quick. So if you click on these links, right, this is the form that you're brought to. You just put in your email, same one you guys used to register, your full name, which session. So this was session 1. Click session 1. Session 1, what days are sessions? So we're Saturdays, guys. And then the link to your exercise 1 and 2. So create 2 different trinkets for those. We're not submitting final project. And then anything else you want to add, maybe any notes about your code, something like that. Okay. We have a little bit of time for questions. Yeah. Email for the class. Use the email that you used to sign up for the class. Kyle, to answer your question. So guys, Janine has put a little comment in the chat there that kind of describes the difference between Pythonic Lava and Bug Busters. You guys should have filled out what you rated your previous coding experience, and based on that you should have been put into Bug Busters or Pythonic Lava. If you have no coding experience, right, this is the first time you've ever really touched coding, then do the Bug Buster exercises. If you have some experience, try the Pythonic Lava ones, okay? If you guys don't know which one you guys are in, yeah, choose whichever one you think is better. Like I said, like if you've never had really any experience, do Bug Busters. If you've had some experience, do Pythonic Lava. Okay. Any other questions? Mentors, anything? No? All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the session. Oh, how do you get onto Bug Busters? If you're guys like, if you're the color palette link I used, here, I'll just put into the chat. You guys can use it. Really anyone works, they all work about the same, guys, but that's one that you guys can use. Any other questions, guys? If not, you're free to go. Arashi, you don't necessarily have to submit the exercises, but if you are looking to get all the points, the maximum points that you can get out of the sessions for those end of session prizes, then you would need to submit them, right? It's also good too because you do get some feedback on your exercises, right? So you guys can kind of see where you went wrong, where you went right, kind of type things. So I'd recommend doing them. They do need to be submitted before the end of next next session. So yeah, you guys are welcome. Thank you for coming.
Can we leave now or no?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
See you.
For Pythonic Lava, do you have to hand both? Yes. So both of the ones that we put in that slide, right? For Pythonic Lava, you have to do. It's 2 exercises, yeah. No, color doesn't really matter. You can choose any color, right? It's more so about uh what's it called? The concepts, right? That you understand the concepts, what's going on. Color is really personal preference, right? Even the type of shapes you guys use um is really up to you. But try and replicate it as best you can to what you guys see in the slides. Okay. Simone, also for your question, I put the link to where you guys can see the slides. Just right underneath your comment there. Juan, I want you to try and attempt it first. And then if you're having trouble, ask one of us on Discord. But keep in mind that if you're using mouse X and mouse Y, you need to have it in the draw function. Okay, but think about what parts of the fill, right, change like when you call fill and stuff like that, what part of fill changes the color, and then what you can where you can put mouse X and mouse Y in and around that fill function that changes the color. Okay. If you're still having trouble, message one of us on Discord. Okay. Okay. That's